Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unscripted Sports Podcast. We're coming in a little bit later today than normal. Usually Saturdays will be noon, but we had some stuff going on this morning. We're brought to you today by BS3 Radio on Spreaker. I'm so sorry. And Northeast Streaming Sports. We're here on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and on Saturdays usually at noon, but a little late today. You can find us on Facebook, and make sure you like and share on Facebook, and you can find us on YouTube. Just look up Unscripted and any of these guys' names, either Logan Landers, Jay McLovin, or Big Shaw. You can find the other things that they are into there also, so go and check out all that stuff on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and like. And once again, we love it when you guys comment and interact with our show. It gives us more to talk about. It makes things more interesting, and we appreciate all of our viewers. So I guess I'm your moderator, Melanie. We got Logan Landers today.
What up, everybody? A little bit later on today on this fine Saturday afternoon. But hey, that doesn't mean the sports don't stop. Me and Jay about to have a nice battle today, and I'm ready to get things going.
And we got Jay McLovin.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Jay McLovin, H-Town representing. Hey, listen, man. You can find me on Twitter at JasonMcMinn16. And you can also find me on Instagram at Jason.McMinn3. Let's have a great show. Let's get this party started.
What's the topic, Mel?
So today we're doing our show a little bit different. We're doing these guys' top 10 wide receivers of all time. We're going to start with their number 10 and move on up to number 1 to see who they think is the best of all time. Let's get started with you, Logan Landers. Who's your number 10?
So, Jay, before the show, we were scrambling to put this one together, man, because as our title implicates, we are unscripted. And so a lot of stuff can happen in the world. And so we were throwing these together. And so if we get some hate comments out there from the fine folks watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, I apologize. So my number 10, Jay, is the Raiders legend, Fred Biletnikoff. One of the best wide receivers, best hands of all time. I know he always has that stick-em lore to him. But, hey, that man's got hands that are just glue traps. And he's got a name. He's got the award named after him in college for the best wide receiver. So it's hard to fight against that. So I got Raiders legend Fred Biletnikoff is my number 10. But man, this one was hard, Jay, because there's so many wide receivers. I feel like we're just going to leap out. And you could have 1,000 top 10 lists, and there wouldn't be a correct top 10. So I got Fred Biletnikoff, and great Raider legend, and he is my number 10 pick.
All right, Jay, what do you think? Your number 10.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it just because I'm a Cowboys fan, and I am a Cowboys fan. Mm-hmm. But my number 10 is Bob Hayes. Bob did a lot. He was a Pro Bowler twice. He led the NFL in touchdown grabs. He tallied double-digit scores in 5 of his first 6 campaigns. The guy was just a touchdown magnet. He was an Olympic sprinter. He was a featured wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys for the bulk of his career. And if you're a featured wide receiver for the Cowboys, that says a lot. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Bob Hayes, that's my guy at number 10, and I'm sticking with it, and challenge me otherwise.
Hey, that's a solid pick, Jay. Like I said before, we're not gonna have the same list by any means. There's so many guys that I feel we could replace with any of them, but man, we could do a top 50, and there still would be a bunch of different people on there. There's just the NFL has been stacked with wide receivers since day one. And all right, I'm ready, Mel. Let's keep going.
All right. So I have a quick question. So I don't know when Bob Hayes played for the Cowboys. I know you're a statistics guy and a numbers guy. Jay, do you have down when he played for the Cowboys?
Yeah, Bob Hayes, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be wrong on this, but if last my memory served, he was pretty much the late 60s into the 70s as a wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys.
Because that's interesting to me. Like, I want to know these guys. I may not recognize their names. I'd like to know when they were.
Recognize them, Melanie, because when Bob Hayes played, you weren't born yet.
Let's see. Yeah, Jay, you're right. He's like mid-60s to mid-70s. That's when he played.
Yeah.
Hey, Melanie, you were like a thought in your daddy's eye when Bob Hayes played.
Babe, you're 1 year older than me.
That's still 1 year.
All right, Logan, what's your number 9?
All right, my number 9 pick, Jay, I have the Seattle Seahawks legend, a man who for many, many years was looked at as one of the best Seahawks of all time. I've got Steve Largent as my number 9 selection. Absolutely phenomenal player, 13,000 yards in his career. He's got 100 touchdowns on the dot, and he played with the Seahawks his entire career, which is something that's pretty hard to do. So my number 9, Steve Largent, amazing hands, a lot of yards, and a bunch of touchdowns. He's my number 9 pick.
All right, Jay, what you got for number 9? All right, so at my number 9, and let me make sure I had okay, and I know a lot of people are gonna think that I'm crazy for saying this, but I got Calvin Johnson, Megatron, known to most people. The biggest reason is, he didn't play as long as a lot of other guys played, so he didn't rack up nearly as high the yards as most people did. But Calvin Johnson, he retired at 30, only 9 seasons in the league. At the very worst of the best receivers in the league throughout his tenure, the Detroit Lions, the greatest receiver in franchise. He played with the Lions. I mean, when you play with the Lions, you're going to get featured quite a bit. But he's a 6-time Pro Bowler. He's going to make it into Canton. But, honestly, for what Megatron did in the course of the time that he did it in, that's why I got him at number 9. I think if Megatron would have played, probably 3 or 4 more years and got a little bit more yardage, he probably would have made it higher in my top 10 list. But don't forget, Stafford was, Megatron was Stafford's number 1 saving grace. And that's why I got him at number 9.
All right. Logan, who you got for number 8?
Number 8. Man, number 8, I've got a man who a lot of people might put a little bit higher on this list, a man who I've loved to watch play really his entire career. I've got Larry Fitzgerald as my number 8. I've only got him a little bit lower just because he is still playing. He can still rack up a lot more yardage. Let's see, looking at my list, he's the only active player still going. As we all know, he's an Arizona Cardinal legend, is Larry Fitzgerald. And he was my number 8 pick, only because when I was looking at some of these guys, you just get the nostalgia to hit you. You get a lot of just the great comparisons, their great moments. And so I've got Larry Fitzgerald as my number 8 best wide receiver of all time. He very well could move up when things are all said and done, when he finally hangs up his cleats. But I've got him right now at number 8.
All right, Jay, who you got for number 8?
At number 8, I got the famous Chris Carter for the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Chris Carter was an amazing guy. We all know that, man. He's a Hall of Famer. He's fourth in receiving touchdowns. He led the league in catching scores on 3 occasions. He's a 2-time, first-time All-Pro. Carter was named to the 8 Pro Bowl squads. The guy's done fairly enough to get in my top 10 at number 8, just on the amount of Pro Bowls, the amount of touchdowns that he scored, the amount of yards that he's caught. I mean, for Brad Johnson all the way through Dante Culpepper, he was, second to, Randy Moss. When Randy Moss first came to that team, he was kind of like the Padawan. And then Randy Moss kind of elevated his game to be Sir surpassing the master of the Jedis in Chris Carter. And that's why I got right now Chris Carter at number 8. If Randy Johnson hadn't done what he done, I probably would have had maybe Chris Carter a little bit higher. But you'll see Randy Johnson a little bit further in my stats as we go along. But Chris Carter is still, bar none, Hall of Fame worthy. And I got him at number 8 for me.
All right, Logan, who do you have for number 7?
Number 7 for me. I've got, you guys know I am a very big Raiders fan. And Jay, we were talking about just some names, and you helped bring it up, and you helped me remember to put this guy on my list. I've got Tim Brown from the Oakland Raiders at my number 7 pick. Absolutely phenomenal player. Got the Super Bowl rings, got all the stats in the world you can look at. And, phenomenal records. Led the league in 1997 at age 31 with 104 catches, which is unbelievable. Total career yardage of close to 15,000. And he's got 100 touchdowns as well. Played for a very long time as well. Played in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. So, like I said, almost a lifelong Raider. Went to Tampa that 1 year, but for the majority of his time, everyone remembers him playing with Oakland, and definitely one of the best wide receivers to come out of his draft class.
All right, Jay, who have you got on number 7?
It's very interesting that me and Logan come up with the same guy. But at number 7, I got Tim Brown as well, and I think maybe because Logan finally got on my damn page for once in his life. I don't know.
Well, you got to figure it out, Jay.
But I got Tim Brown at number 7 for the following reasons. He's a 9-time Pro Bowler. Consistently elite throughout his prime. Starting in 1993, Brown accumulated at least 80 catches in 9 of the following 10 campaigns. He's 7th-time career receptions and receiving yards and 9th in career touchdown catches. I mean, look, when you look at Tim Brown, he played, fairly well. I can't remember the guy that I'm trying to think of, and it's at the top of my head that was his quarterback. It wasn't Stabler, but I can't. Can somebody help me remember who the quarterback was at that time? And I know it wasn't Stabler.
I know it was Stabler was a big one. You talking about in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Let's see, Raiders QBs in the 80s. Stabler was one of them. It wasn't Rich. No, not Rich Gannon.
I just can't say it.
Yeah, I got you. Hold on, I'm looking you up here. Jim Plunkett, maybe? No.
No, it wasn't Plunkett.
Was it Mark Wilson?
No, it wasn't Mark
Jay
Wilson.
Schroeder?
No.
Jeff George?
I think Jeff George was one of them. There was a second one as well. It was Jeff George, and I can't remember who the second one was.
I'm trying to think. Todd Marinovich? No, I don't think it was him. Rich Gannon played for a little in the 90s.
There you go.
Rich Gannon?
That's the guy. Rich Gannon. Thank you.
I'll say he played for so long, it was hard to think of the quarterbacks, man.
Man.
Also, what up,
George was one of them, but Gannon was the one that really elevated Tim Brown's career. And it was at the top of my tongue, and I appreciate you doing the research on that to bring that name out. It was on the top of my tongue. I couldn't get it out of my mouth. But, hey, what's up, Big Ben? Appreciate you coming on today, brother. If you don't know that Ben Sutherland is the big CEO for BS3 Radio that advertises our stuff, and we appreciate Big Ben. Gannon was the guy I was thinking of. And that's the guy that got Tim Brown. And when Jerry Rice came on board, made Jerry Rice the second level of his career big in the sport industry. But Rich Gannon made Tim Brown. Honestly, Tim Brown made himself, but Rich Gannon was a big quarterback that really put him in the limelight and got most of his career going. And with 9 Pro Bowls, I mean, come on, man. How do you not put Tim Brown in your top 10?
Yeah, amazing performer.
I'm really kind of curious to see where you go at number 6.
No, me too. Logan,
right.
you go for number 6.
For number 6, I have a guy, Jay, that you might have forgotten about. From my other show, 100 Yards Football. You should have checked that out over on Facebook as well. I did a player profile on this man about a year ago now at this point. And it's rare whenever you look at someone's stats and your jaw drops, right? And so for me, my number 6 top wide receiver of all time is Lance Allworth. Jay, I know you're going to remember that name, former Cowboy.
Yeah.
Also played with the Chargers as well. And
sure did.
Man, this dude was phenomenal. 7-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Famer, 6-time All-Pro as well. So he played from 62 until 72. So he only played for 10 years, Jay. He didn't even play for too long. Yeah. He's, like I said, so he led the league in receiving yards 3 times, with his top being 1,600 yards in 1965. So, and he played in 14 games last year. He was used as a flanker, which is something that's not really used too much nowadays. But Jay, what really stood out to me is in that 65 season where he got 1,600 yards, the yards per reception was 23. 23 yards a catch. That's insane.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, he didn't. He also led the league in touchdowns 3 times, 14 being his career high. But he got, he led the league in receptions. He had 73, 68, 64. Like I said, back in the 60s and 70s, they weren't in the early 60s and 70s. They weren't throwing the ball as much as they have been in more recent eras. But man, Lance Allworth was a stud for both the Cowboys as well as for the Chargers. So Lance Allworth, someone I think a lot of people might forget about, definitely a living legend, and he is my number 6 top wide receiver of all time.
All right, Jay, who's your number 6?
As a Cowboys fan, I appreciate that knowledge that you brought forth, and that actually is not a very bad pick at all at that position, Mr. Logan. But at my number 6, I got Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay.
I got Larry Fitzgerald at number 6. He moved into second all-time in receiving yards. So he's second in receiving yards. He has finished second all-time in career catches. He's 11-time Pro Bowler who has twice led the NFL in receptions and who has spent his entire career with one single club. He has not moved around. This franchise has been his only franchise the entire time. That means he's played with Kurt Warner. That means now he's played with Kyler Murray and so forth. I mean, the guy's been through a lot, right? He still remains, and he's an ambassador. The guy has a numerous number of charities, foundations, and giving back to his community. I mean, the guy has done a lot, not only on the field, but off the field. And that's what I want to point out. Larry Fitzgerald has done quite a bit off the field, and not many people know that, but he is quite charitable with not only his time, but his money and the foundations and causes outside of that football gridiron. I will tell you that football is going to be very remorseful when he does actually hang up the cleats. I don't know how much longer he's going to have left in the NFL, but he's still, doing what Larry does, which is a catch monster. Anybody that's ever watched Larry Fitzgerald knows that when he goes up, he catches that ball and he comes down with it. And that's why I love Larry Fitzgerald. I really wish he would have been on the Cowboys all time because we really could have used a guy of his caliber. Everybody talks about the Odell Beckham Jr. when he did the one-handed grab and so forth, but people always overlook Larry Fitzgerald, what he's been doing for a very, very, very long time in terms of catching the ball with consistency, accuracy, and just overall in your face. And Larry Fitzgerald comes in at number 6 for me for those reasons.
Okay, I can live with that. I can rock with that one.
Okay, we're at the halfway point now. Number 5, Logan.
And it's getting hot in here, Jay. It's getting hot. A lot of players here, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't get him started, Logan. Don't get him rolling.
Yeah. I'm about to say if we had a late night show, Jay would have had a few more beverages in him, and that might have happened. But we're a little bit early. Even though we're a little bit later on our Saturday show, I think we're a little bit too early for any of that.
Yes.
That's for Unscripted After Dark. That's for our after dark, baby.
The after show.
Yeah. This is the one that we don't show y'all. But all right. So for my number 5 pick, I'm gonna go with the man who's also who has the 5th most receiving yards in NFL history. Mr. Consistency, I've got the longtime LA Rams, St. Louis Rams legend, Mr. Isaac Bruce, as my number 5 pick. The top 5 could change around everywhere, Jay. Man, Isaac Bruce, I got number 5. He played forever and ever and ever. But, man, did he rack up some great yardage. 15,208 to be precise. 14 yards a catch. 91 touchdowns to end it all. Led the league in reception yardage in 96 with 1,338. Had 1,000 yards in receiving multiple seasons. I'm looking here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 8 to 9, maybe even 10 years. So absolutely phenomenal wide receiver. 4-time Pro Bowler, which I feel like he should have got more, to be honest. For this man to be as consistent as he was and only getting the Pro Bowl 4 times, I think was a little bit of a they looked over him a little bit. Got 1 Super Bowl with the Rams, of course, and was vital in helping them get that Super Bowl championship as well. So number 5, I've got Isaac Bruce.
Wow. All right, Jay, who have you got at your halfway point?
Between Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, man, that was one hell of a formidable team that Kurt Warner had at his disposal. I mean, honestly,
yes, sir.
That tandem of Bruce and Holt was just freaking phenomenal, man. Phenomenal. Probably one of the best wideout combinations I think we've ever seen, in my opinion.
One of the best 1-2 punches, for no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like your number 5 pick. My number 5 pick, I'm going to go a little bit older than most of y'all. I'm going Steve Largent. I'm going Steve Largent from the Seattle Seahawks at number 5. He's a 7-time Pro Bowl receiver who led the NFL in receiving yards on 2 different occasions. He's the greatest offensive player to date in the history of the Seattle Seahawks organization. He's got 6 different records, including the first NFL player to tally 100 receiving touchdowns in a career. When he retired per the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the Hall of Famer remains one of the only 10 men to notch 100 career receiving touchdowns. If you don't know Steve Largent, you don't know football. Straight up.
Yeah, throw him in there. Throw him in there.
If you don't have Steve Largent and you're number 10, you need to recalibrate the way you think, because this man, honestly, outside of Don Beebe and a few other guys that were of his stature, Steve Largent, man, was just freaking phenomenal, man. He was a beast with Seattle Seahawks, and it's a shame, a damn right shame that he never got a Super Bowl ring on his hand, because let me tell you something. This man played at a Super Bowl caliber level, night in and night out, and he's got numerous records to show that he was honestly one of the greatest guys to ever play the game of football. And I have him at number 5. But 4 through 1, you're going to see why he is at number 5, but yeah, Steve Largent, hey, man, love you, praise you. You're a good boy, and that's why you're at number 5.
All right, Logan. Oh, sorry.
All right, all good. Like I said, Jay, I like your pick. Like you said, we could move these guys around willy-nilly every single day of our lives, and we would still probably never get a concrete top 10 answer, to be fair. So for me, number 4, man, these are just guys that I remember watching grow up. I'm a little younger, so these guys are really my childhood watching football. So my number 4 pick for the top wide receivers of all time, I've got Mr. Marvin Harrison, Mr. Colt himself, as my number 4 selection. When we talk about hands, we got to talk about Mr. Harrison, man. He was absolutely freaking phenomenal. Over 1,000 catches in his career, over 14,000 yards in total, led the league twice in reception yards. In 99 with 1,600, and then again in 02 with 1,700, Jay. Receptions, he led the league twice. 102 in 2000, which I think is very good. But then wait till you hear this. In 2002, he had 143 receptions. Him and Peyton Manning, like I said, when we talk about 1-2 combos, you got to put them up there too. They were phenomenal back then. Led the league in touchdowns as well. Once he had 12. He had a total of 128 touchdowns, which is always, that's always good to crack that 100-yard plateau, and he got it. But, man, Marvin Harrison, what more can you say about it? Everyone knows he's got to be in your top 10, I would hope. Just as consistent as he was, long-time Indianapolis Colts wideout. And, man, he was able to do his thing for many years out there as a Colt. And his son's also a wide receiver. He's recruited now, and his son's doing his thing in college. So we'll see if he can continue on the tradition and continue on that Harrison legacy. We'll have to see. But overall, Marvin Harrison, I got my number 4 pick.
All right, Jay, who's your number 4?
I'm gonna go back for a second. I agree with you, Logan. I think there was 3 really great dynamic duos in this lifetime, maybe 4, and I would put one of them as Jerry Rice to Montana, Harrison to Eli Manning.
Yep.
Put the third one as what's his name? I can't remember. Michael Irvin to Aikman. I mean, these are 3 very big dynamic duos in terms of quarterback to receiver. And so, yeah, I can see why you put him where you put him at. And absolutely phenomenal. My number 4, I got at Don Hudson.
Okay.
And I don't particularly like the Green Bay Packers. I don't like any team. But let me be honest with you. If you're not a Dallas Cowboy, I hate you. No, I don't hate you. Listen, I'm just no Cowboys fan. And listen, our team has sucked for the past 20 years straight up. We haven't made it to the Super Bowl. I don't know freaking how long. 1995, I think was the last time. And so it's been hard to be a Dallas Cowboys particular fan. But I'm a diehard. I've been with them guys since 1976. So it is what it is. And I can recognize greatness. But on this particular instance, at number 4, we got Don Hudson. And I'm going back. If you listen, Don Hudson played way before I was born, or as a matter of fact, any of us were born. Probably more than anybody that's watched this telecast was born. Don Hudson played between 1936 and 1945. That's a 9-year career. But he was an 8-time first-team All-Pro, dominated numerous receiving categories. He's always in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he's held 18 different records. When he retired at 1945, he led the NFL in catches that year. People don't understand. You got to go back to your roots. I think a lot of us, sometimes we get enamored with what's going on right now, and we forget about where the sport was back when it was first created. And Don Hudson led in 18 different categories. This guy was amazing. And I think sometimes we forget our grassroots. And I'm going back one time to the grassroots of Don Hudson, because a lot of times we get so caught up in what we know in our little small bubble of life that we don't look at everything that encompassed where we got to. And this is a time where we didn't have face masks. This guy played when it was brutal. This guy played when it was tough. This guy played when you could beat the ever-living crap out of somebody. NFL protocol was not considered. Concussion protocol wasn't even thought of. These guys were going at it, beast in, beast out every night. It's damn near almost like rugby, where them guys just go at it ferociously. And he led in 18 different categories, and there was never one talked about pass interference. And that's why I got Don Hudson where I got Don Hudson, because people got to understand that when Don Hudson played the game of football, it was bestiality at its finest. And I wish I could have played football in 1935, 1945, because I would have loved to just gone after and beat the ever-living hell out of somebody and not got called a penalty because I did so. And that's when football was at its absolute, unequivocally best, was 1936 to 1945, where we didn't have all the crappy rules and regulations like we have now governing football as we govern it. And that's why I got him where he's at, because he played at a high level, but he didn't have all the protocols that protected him like they have now that protect the wide receivers of today's generation.
Very true. Very
Don
true,
Hudson,
Jay.
look him up.
I will certainly do a history lesson on him, as I know Mel will as well.
Yes. So we are down to the top 3.
All right, Jay. Here we go. Here's where the claws come out. Here's where the fighting words start. All right, Jay. Oh, man. You could move. Really, the next 2 guys I'm going to talk about, you could swap them day and night, to be fair. So today, this is what I'm feeling. All right. My number 3 best wide receiver of all time I've got T.O. Terrell Owens going in at number 3.
Oh.
People hate him in the media. But you can't deny the talent on the field, Jay. You can't deny it. Absolutely freaking phenomenal at his position. Almost 16,000 yards. Averaged almost 15 yards a catch as well. 153 touchdowns, which is, I think it's top 3 all time. Yep, he's number 3 all time. Man, what more can you say about T.O.? Absolutely phenomenal with the 49ers when he was young. Helped out the Eagles as well back in the early 2000s. Almost got them a Super Bowl ring. Even with the Cowboys a little bit later on in his career, he was still a very good player. So overall, this dude's whole career was very good. And I've got him at number 3. But, man, like I said, these top 3, I think you could just swap out, to be fair. So that's what I'm thinking today. T.O., number 3 for me. But absolutely phenomenal. Definitely once-in-a-generation type-ish player, I think. And that's what I got at number 3. Jay, man, I know you loved watching him with the Cowboys.
I honestly think you're looking at my freaking top 10 list because this is bull. Yeah, I got T.O. at number 3 too. I do. I have T.O. at number 3.
Okay.
The guy was. You know what? It's a shame. Honestly, in T.O.'s career, for all that he's done for football, and people either love T.O. or they hate T.O., right? Mm-hmm. Because T.O. has a big personality.
Yes.
But quite honestly, T.O. has done so much for the game of football. It's absolutely ridiculous. The man is 8th in receptions, 2nd in receiving yards, 3rd in career touchdowns, 6-time Pro Bowler, produced probably the most historic performance of the Super Bowl era when he worked to return, from a serious leg injury that, ahead of schedule to play for the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and I can't even pronounce that. He caught 9 passes for 122 yards in that particular Super Bowl loss. Here's the deal. T.O. gets a lot of shit because T.O.'s got a big person. T.O. talks a lot of smack. He does. T.O. talks a lot of smack. And sometimes it turns people off to what he's done for his career. But this man is electrified. He played with Rice in San Francisco for that brief stint, and then he was gone. Rice went to the Raiders, and T.O. stayed with San Francisco. The man never got a Super Bowl, but let me tell you something. For all the bullshit that he talked and all the bullshit that he did, T.O., you cannot deny him what the man's done for the game of football and what he's done in terms of catches and receiving yards and touchdowns. I mean, the guy's freaking phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And if he's not a first-time ballot for the Hall of Fame that he goes up, it's bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now, if he does not make it the first time he goes up, it's complete and total bullshit. Because even though I don't like T.O.'s personality, I love what T.O. did on the field, not only for the Cowboys, but for the Eagles and the 49ers. And I think he's done enough, if not more than enough, to make it as a first-time ballot Hall of Famer. T.O., I love you, I praise you, and I'm hoping that you make it as a first-time ballot. If you don't, it's a travesty and a bullshit call.
He deserves that gold jacket. Give it to him. Give it to him.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I have a crazy question. Is he still doing a lot of stuff with ESPN? Because I know a couple of years ago he was, and I don't watch as many talk shows on ESPN as I used to. But he used to be on quite a few talk shows, like as a fill-in guest a couple of years ago.
I don't think he's doing as much anymore, no. He's not doing as much anymore. I haven't seen him anyway. If he is, I haven't seen him do it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Top 2. Number 2, Logan.
Jay, I hope we're in agreement here. I think we might be. But
if we're not, I'm going to slap you in the forehead.
Yeah. All right. So my number 2 is a man come out of Rand, West Virginia by way of Marshall. A man who everyone should have in their top 10, I believe. He coined the phrase Moss that all the kids in the playground were doing for many years and still do today, Jay. Randy Moss is my number 2 wide receiver of all time. God, Randy Moss, what can you say? 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, Rookie of the Year in 98, and everywhere he went, success followed him. It's a shame that injuries got to him a little bit later, forced him to retire a little bit early, but man, when he was in his prime, there wasn't hardly anyone better. There was the debate between him and T.O. day and night. Those two were definitely the top two. Like I said, we just named for 2 and 3 for the best, or preferably, I think, Jay, you're going to give him a top 2. That's my fingers are crossed moment. But, man, almost 1,000 yards, almost 1,000 catches, 15,000 yards, 156 touchdowns, which is second all time in NFL history. And you knew the ball was going to go to him, and he'd catch it anyways. That's how good he was. And led the league in touchdowns multiple times. He had 23 back in 2007, back when him and Brady were hooking up and being one of the best combinations of all time. For that, that period of time, they were doing things out there. But man, Randy Moss, his time with the Vikings is unmatched. 1,000 yards in almost every single season he had there. I don't know what more you can say, Jay. Randy Moss, absolute legend, and he's my number 2 best wide receiver of all time.
All right, Jay, who we got for number 2?
Stop looking at my page. I feel like we're in elementary school or even in high school. I feel like you're copying my page. Listen. I definitely have Randy Moss at number 2. He's just shy of the GOAT, and we all know who the GOAT is. And I'm going to go ahead and call it right now. I'll bet your number 1 is Jerry Rice. And if it's not, then you're a freaking retard.
That is my that might be my number 1.
Logan, because I'm going to hear Jerry Rice come out your mouth in about 5 seconds when I get done with this one. Because in all honesty, if you know football, if you know wide receivers, it should be the next name that comes out of your mouth. And if it's not, me and you're going to have a separate conference call, and we're going to talk about as a sports commentator.
Oh, Lord.
Look, man,
to moderate that one.
Oh, yeah.
Look, Randy Moss is not the GOAT. There's no way that Randy Moss is the GOAT. But I will say this. He is next to the GOAT. Mm-hmm. He is the Scottie Pippen to Michael Jordan. Okay, the guy's not the GOAT, but he should have been the GOAT. And if it wasn't for Jerry Rice, he would be the GOAT. In 2000, he's a 6-time Pro Bowler, dominated defenses and more than any other receiver before him. On multiple occasions, he did in 2009. Bill Belichick. If anybody knows football, you know that Bill Belichick is probably the GOAT in terms of coaching. Mm-hmm. If you're a head football coach, you know that Bill Belichick is the GOAT of NFL head coaching. That's just all there is to it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I understand it's the Lombardi Trophy after Vince Lombardi from the Packers, but you know what? If it wasn't for Vince Lombardi, the NFL Super Bowl trophy should be called the Belichick Trophy. In all honesty, because as much as Lombardi's done for the NFL, Belichick has done 10 times over for what he's done for the New England Patriots. And Bill Belichick, and I quote, has called Randy Moss the smartest receiver that he has ever dealt with. Now, if Bill Belichick comes out and says you're the smartest receiver that he has ever dealt with, that says volumes for who you are as a player. Mm-hmm. And that's why I got Randy Moss at number 2, because Bill Belichick's endorsement as the smartest QB he has ever dealt with should put him at number 2. And we'll get to number 1 in a second, but we all know who number 1 is. Mm-hmm. Logan, I know you got number 1. It's not going to be a surprise. It's not going to be something that just blows your mind. But at the end of the day, it is who it is, and we can't deny true greatness. But for Randy Moss at number 2, Randy, I tip my head at you. I wish you could have been a Cowboy. and your son, Moss Jr., is doing quite well in his own right. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that number.
That's understandable, Jay. But man, I wish Shaw was here, man. I really wish Shaw was here with us today. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here. But I would have loved to see his top 10 because I don't know where he would have put this guy who I'm about to talk about. I don't know where he probably put him at number 5. Knowing Shaw, my number 1.
Yeah, I wish Shaw could have been here too, man. Hey, for you guys who don't know, Shaw is our guy, man. Shaw is our guy that gives us all the correct information. Me and Logan, we just kind of go off the cuff, but Shaw really is the heartbeat of this show. Mm-hmm. But he's with his kids, and I can't stop the man from being with his kids because kids come first. Mm-hmm. And but Shaw, we love you, buddy, and we wish you were here, but we love you.
Shaw is the wild card of our show, Jay. As we talked about on our previous show on Thursday when he put Rob Gronkowski at number 9 for top tight ends of all time. Be sure to check out that video as well if you want to hear our thoughts on who we think's the GOAT tight end. So my number 1, Jay, I hope to God this is your number 1 as well. I got no qualms about it. I think this is who all we're in agreement with. If it's not your number 1, then you need to check yourself into a rehab center or even go to a mental ward. Number 1, Jerry Rice. It's even a shock. The best wide receiver of all time, hands down. Leads the league, 22,000 receiving yards, over 1,500 catches as well. 13-time Pro Bowl, 10-time All-Pro, 3-time Super Bowl champ. All-decade team, basically his whole career. Played a long time in the league from 85 to 04. People forget he played that long as well. I even forget he was with the Seahawks in the early 2000s. That's how long that guy played for. But, man, he left it all on the field during his career, almost 20 years, which is absolutely phenomenal, especially for wide receivers, Jay. As much as he was getting nailed on back in the day with those big defensive backs and safeties and whatnot, and for him to keep playing and produce at a high level for as long as he did, like I said, he's a 49ers legend, but he also did great with the Raiders in his early 2000s as well. He had over 1,000 yards there, and that was when he was 39, and in his 40s he was getting 1,000 yards a season. So if that doesn't qualify for you as the GOAT, who's got all the records you can think of. I know, how many touchdowns he's got? He's got 200-something touchdowns, or close to 200. He's got 197. I think he's like 30 ahead of Moss and T.O. So there ain't no one touching Jerry Rice. No one will touch Jerry Rice, I don't think. He's my number 1 pick for the best wide receiver of all time in football history. Jay, I hope to God we are on agreement with this.
I can't give you stats because pretty much Logan covered all the main stats. Let me put it this way. Jerry Rice is here. Mm-hmm. Randy Moss is about here. And everybody else is down below here. Oh. So the difference between the GOAT at Jerry Rice and Moss at number 2 is about here. If you can see that difference, that's about here. And everybody else is below that. And that's why, honestly, he is the GOAT. Jerry Rice is the GOAT. There is nobody else better than him. I'm not even going to give you stats because Logan's already covered the stats. I'm just telling you, there's Jerry Rice, there's Randy Moss, and there's everything else below that. And that's all I got to, as Forrest Gump said, that's all I got to say about that.
All right. Let me do a quick recap for all the fans watching out there for our top 10 wide receivers of all time. For Jay's picks, number 10, Bob Hayes. 9, Calvin Johnson. 8, Chris Carter. 7, Tim Brown. 6, Larry Fitzgerald. 5, Steve Largent. 4, Don Hudson. 3, T.O. 2, Randy Moss. And number 1, the GOAT, Jerry Rice. For myself, 10, I got Fred Biletnikoff. 9, Steve Largent. 8, Larry Fitzgerald. 7, Tim Brown. 6, Lance Allworth. 5, Isaac Bruce. 4, Marvin Harrison. 3, Terrell Owens. 2, Randy Moss. And 1, Jerry Rice. That's our picks. We got through it, Jay. We did it.
I will tell you this.
completed.
You know what? We must have been very close on the same page because for a lot of those picks, except for maybe one or two, we were pretty much on point, man.
Yeah,
And that's amazing. And you know what? Hey, listen, for those guys that don't know, man, these lists of wide receivers are all 10 of these guys are just amazing. And hey,
there's
listen,
a whole other 10 out there you could put in there too, probably. There's a whole other 10 people you could throw in there.
Easily. You know, and hey, for those of you guys don't know, man, hey, listen, we got big time things coming up. I want to say, first of all, if you don't mind me going just for a little tangent here.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, Hank Aaron, hey, man, I love you. Rest in peace, brother. And let me tell you something. I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to say something I had never said before, but I'm going to say it right here, right now. I understand Barry Bonds surpassed you in home runs, but let me just say this. Barry Bonds was in steroids. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this loud. I'm going to say it very clear to everybody. In my opinion, I understand factually that Barry Bonds is a home run king, but in my mind, for what Hank Aaron did, he's still the home run king to me. And everybody else is below him, including Barry Bonds, is below him. Because last time I checked, Hank Aaron never did steroids. He got everything he got organically. And I want people to understand the value that Hank Aaron brought to the game of baseball. Hank Aaron, in my mind, is still the home run guru, and Barry Bonds is his bitch.
Those are some fighting words there, Jay. Yeah, let me touch on that real quick too, man. So Hank Aaron, unfortunately, passed away the other day. I woke up to the news. I was actually in a meeting, and I was looking on Twitter, and I saw that happen. And it sucks, man. Lifelong Braves fan right here. And for someone that is the best Braves player of all time, for sure, a lot of people think is the best baseball player of all time. All he had to go through playing back in his day in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Barry Bonds didn't have to go through much of what Hank Aaron had to go through back with the civil rights movement and stuff like that. He didn't have to sneak in to get into a ball game. He didn't have to go through back doors to get dressed and all that. So while Jackie Robinson did a great job, breaking the color barrier and everything like that, Hank Aaron was right there with him doing his thing during the civil rights movement in the 60s. Going through, he got death threats daily, he said, and it's just a shame that he's gone. A great person off the field as well. Always wanted to, always tried to help progress the game even more. And just a shame that he's gone, but what a legacy he will forever have.
Logan, I'm really glad you said that about what Hank Aaron went through. It's amazing. The fortitude of a man who not only went through the color barriers and all the discrimination and everything, but still maintained focus on his craft and did what he did with his craft, given all the turmoil that he went through. And let me tell you something, Barry Bonds, I love you, man. Hey, and I love what you did for the game of baseball, but you'll never be the home run champion in my book. In my book, the home run champion and our hero will always be two guys. One, Jackie Robinson, and number two, Hank Aaron, in that order.
Great players. All right, Mel, let's wrap things up here.
Well, just one point about like Jackie Robinson, Hank Aaron that a lot of people don't think about is their wives. Because especially back then in the bleachers where the wives all sat together and their wives were not necessarily accepted as part of the group. So I read that a while back, especially concerning Jackie Robinson, that his wife really, really struggled because she was supposed to be sitting with the group of wives, but she wasn't really accepted. So we've come a long way since then.
And that's why you're the best moderator ever, because that's really good, valuable information. And I'm glad you brought that out, man. Much love to you, baby.
Just my little comment. But a lot of people don't think about it. A lot of people don't think about the wives. Like they were very ridiculed, and a lot of the things that people wanted to be yelling and screaming at their husbands, they said to the wives. And they had to
I'm really glad you said that, Mel, because let me just say real quick. I'll start out with, listen, I'm a Republican. Whatever. It is what it is. But I will say this, in terms of wives and getting the respect that they do, Kamala Harris is the first female vice president ever. Hey, much love to the women's movement and what you guys are accomplishing. I think it's great that she's, our vice president. I look forward to see what this administration brings in the near future. But like you said, Kamala Harris is half black, half Asian. And for what she's doing for that particular ethnicity is great. What she's doing for her gender is even better. And to go along with what Jackie Robinson's wife dealt with and so forth, I think she's further transcending in our country where we need to go and where we need to continue to strive to get towards. And all of that is great American things. And you heard it right here first on Unscripted.
Not sure we were first, but okay. All right, guys. Thanks for a great show today. Great top 10. And we want to thank our sponsors, BS3 Radio on Spreaker and Northeast Streaming Sports. Again, you can find us Tuesday and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Saturdays, usually at noon Eastern Standard Time. We're on Facebook. Make sure you like us and share. And on YouTube, look us up as Unscripted under any of these guys' names, Logan Landers, Jay McLovin, Big Shaw, and you can find the other things that these guys have been into. Also, if you YouTube, it's a great show. You guys have a great day. We appreciate you.
You're listening to Unscripted on Northeast Streaming Sports.